So the last two reviews have been a bit longer than I usually like, so this week we're going to try and keep things a bit more concise. Probably going to fail though. Mostly because Saints Row dropped on Tuesday and obviously I want the chance to play it until I'm purple. Purple, because Saints Row. Anyway, a couple of weeks ago we took a look at Dark Crusade, an add-on to 2004's Dawn of War, which is a bit unlike me as I don't usually bother talking about expansions. There are several intricate and important reasons why this is the case, mostly that I can't be asked. I bring this up because in that review I said the words Dawn of War 2 and it made me want to play Dawn of War 2, that's how easily influenced I am. So that's been my life the last couple of weeks. Well, that and Jedi Fallen Order obviously, but I've finished that game, so I got to play this more. Also, this extra playtime has been a good thing because my initial plan was to split this video up into 3 parts to kind of explain separate parts of the game. That's how parts work. And I've sort of realised why that isn't going to work, which I think is a good thing, and I'll explain it more when we get into the review proper. Okay, I guess I'm explaining right now. As said, my original plan this week was to have 3 parts. The first part discussing the plot of the game, the second part would be a primarily gameplay focused bit, and the third part would be multiplayer. But since I found the online is pretty dead at this point and I've had more luck finding life amongst the stars, oh whoops, I wasn't supposed to say that, I've dropped that bit entirely. Not that it matters, me and multiplayer go together like Space Marines and open-mindedness. It's really creepy to me that they glorify the idea of being so closed-minded, but that plays into the whole space racist thing.
Hey, just a reminder that you already made the Marine Nazi comparison in the Dark Crusade video, and that you should probably avoid doing it here.
How dare you point out I've already made a joke. Damn it, I left the armory open. If you enjoy these videos and would like to support the channel, then head over to patreon.com/Ronica Reviews. For just £1 a month you can help me to build my channel. If you become a supporter you'll get 24 hours early access to new review videos, a shout out at the end of those videos, and you'll get to suggest games for me to cover. If you'd like something more tangible back for your support, then visit my T-Mill shop. You can get yourself a t-shirt, or maybe a tote bag. How about a jigsaw puzzle? Both links will be in the description of this video, so be sure to check those out. Also in the description you'll find links to my Instagram, my Facebook, and my Twitter, so you can follow me on there if you like. Anyway, that's done, back to the video. Okay, so Dawn of War 2 then. Dawn of War 2 takes place in Subsector Aurelia in the 40k universe. You command a small task force of Space Marines who have deployed to the planets of this sector in order to defend them from invading alien threats. The Space Marines of the Blood Ravens chapter, the chapter of Marines that your blokes are from, use these worlds as recruitment worlds from which they select their next generation of initiates who will one day become Space Marines. From the very first mission, the game displays just how much it has evolved since the days of Dawn of War 1. Dawn of War 1 and its expansions, whilst were kind of about tactics, they were mostly about building an army with the population of Tokyo and just blowing up everything that had the misfortune to stand in your way. Dawn of War 2, however, has looked at this rather brutish approach, sat down with its older brother and said,
"Now listen, Dawn of War, I know you've had your fun with base building, resource management, and creating enough troops to make the Chinese army look like a Girl Scout troop, but we're meant to be a strategy game, so let's do that now."
Oh, and I suppose you plan to be successful, don't you? Limiting your players to 4 squads and relying on a mission-based structure, with what amounts to a radio drama for playing as players slowly click their tiny force from one place to the next.
I'll lose some, of course, but I have confidence that I will still be well received and enjoyable over 10 years later.
And wouldn't you know, Dawn of War 2 is rated 7.8, whilst Dawn of War is rated at 8.4. So you're remarkably close. I guess plenty of players really did like the changes.
As was pointed out just a second ago, in Dawn of War 2 you are given control of up to 4 small squads of Space Marines to complete your missions. You get your Force Commander, the Commander Unit if you'd believe that, a primarily melee focused character who you get to name, which is why mine is called Mighty Tin. You get your all-purpose tactical squad led by Sergeant Tarkus, your scouts led by the Edgelord Sergeant Cyrus, your Devastator Marines led by the very angry Avitus, your Quick Strike Assault Marines led by Sergeant Thaddeus, a bit of a novice to be honest, and later on you get a Dreadnought which is piloted by the remains of a former comrade. It's up to you to decide which of your squads will be best for the next mission. Before you deploy you can change the equipment of each squad, though do keep in mind that some squads will not be able to use certain gear if they're too low a level or if they lack the necessary traits. Yes, you heard me right, there's a level system. As you can expect, every squad gains experience points from kills, and each time they level up you can get 2 points to be placed into either their health, energy, range damage or melee damage. I know I didn't list those in the order they are on screen, but that's because reasons. This allows you to choose how a squad specialises, though for each squad it's pretty obvious from the get-go which specific attribute will serve them the best. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that the Devastator Space Marines, you know, the dudes with the fuck-off massive guns, do well when you increase their ranged combat damage. Hell, I figured it out and I didn't even notice that the word Saturday has been misspelled in the credits ever since I swapped out to the new ones. Gonna have to fix that this week. Just remember folks, you'll never be dumber than I am. When you select a mission you're given a briefing briefing, then you deploy to engage in a top-down real-time strategy battle.
It's really more of an isometric thing than a top-down thing. Top-down would be more like, well, top-down. It's in the name, really.
Cool, anything else want to make me look like a fucking idiot today? Anything? Come on, I'm wide open.
Well, I do have some other examples.
Yep, that was a mature response. Dawn of War 2, like the very first Dawn of War, has a very heavy focus on plot. In missions, it's not uncommon for characters to be conversing whilst you're getting your stuff done. Although some of the lines of dialogue were a bit try-hard for my liking, the bits that were relevant to the plot and the character interactions are overall quite enjoyable, being mostly well written and mostly well performed. Our main cast of characters aren't exactly what I would describe as the most diverse, but credit where credit is due, every squad commander has a unique personality. Said personalities are quite surface level, but for what it's worth, they are all consistent and well characterised. Sergeant Tarkus has that very cool and calm under pressure attitude. Sergeant Cyrus is a miserable edgelord but is very learned. Avitus is a trigger-happy nutcase who has little respect for anyone who isn't a space marine. Thaddeus is a young man with a lot to learn. And the Dreadnought is... okay, his personality kind of died with him. Don't forget he's literally a walking coffin. He's actually the same character as your Force Commander from Dark Crusade, Captain Davian Fool. Although at the beginning of this game he doesn't have a chainsaw, he has a heavy bolter. He's also got a robotic eye. He also sounds like completely different. That's never really addressed.
This is Captain Davian Thule, in command here on Calderis. We are battling the orcs that threaten this world.
They have come for our blood, but they will drown in their own.
Let's talk about the equipment a little bit more. As I said, each time you select a mission, you can get some information about your targets and what to expect. This is providing, of course, that you've captured a relay station on the planet during your deployment, but we'll cover that more later. With this knowledge, you can prepare your squads. You can easily swap the gear of your squads, but always consider just how this will affect them. A missile launcher is devastating versus the towers that the enemy sometimes hide inside, and very good at cracking open tanks, but it's poor for dealing with squads of infantry. A flamethrower ignores cover bonuses and easily suppresses enemies, reducing their movement and accuracy, but such a weapon is short range and has no real ability to aim. Later on you can get Terminator Armor for squads. This massively increases their defense, makes them immune to the effects of suppression themselves, and it automatically equips them with new powerful weapons depending on what squad they are. Sergeant Tarkus and your Force Commander get Storm Bolters, which are effective against basically every type of infantry, and Power Fists, which are basically effective against everything else. Avitus gets a massive fuck-off cannon, and Thaddeus gets a cool hammer and shield combo. All of these weapons deal great damage and are mostly effective against almost any target you'll find, but Terminator Armor comes with a few drawbacks. It has a tendency to demolish cover as you walk up to it, so you can't really protect your squads from enemy fire, and it also slows down your squads a bit and prevents the use of throwable accessories like grenades. Your scout squad can't equip this armor. Makes sense really, they're not really meant for direct combat, they're more of an infiltration team, and they do get access to their own unique equipment like sniper rifles and shotguns. You can also get a trait with this squad that allows them to unlock special ammo types for each weapon, such as explosive shells for the combat shotgun or a high-powered round for the sniper rifle. Something else worth bringing up are the commander items. Your commander can wear a variety of useful accessories that grant him abilities, like a jump pack for, well, jumping. That one is self-explanatory. But you also get things like an iron halo that allows you to generate a shield that protects your commander from any damage, or a banner that slowly regenerates the HP of nearby allies. He also gets access to power swords and axes, which are extremely effective melee weapons and can later take up the Thunder Hammer. This weapon does take up both hands, but deals incredible melee damage. The point to take away here is that your gear is really important, and you really need to take care when arming squads for their missions. The missions mostly fall into one of three categories: defeat a powerful opponent, raise a base or two, or defend a thing from waves of meanies. Regardless, it's up to the player to figure out what gear they'll need, and, when applicable, what route to take in the map to get to their target. You may have noticed by now that sometimes, whilst on a mission, my cursor changes to different coloured dots. It's telling me if where I'm about to move my squad will provide them cover or not. If you see white dots, your squad will be out in the open, which you kind of want to avoid in most combat encounters. Yellow means you'll receive a little bit of cover, and green means you'll receive a lot of cover. Units in cover will take less damage from ranged attacks, however enemies can also use cover, so it's always good to have a few methods of quickly clearing them out. Flamethrowers and grenades can work quite well, but you can also order your assault marines to jump in and engage in melee. This of course ties up the enemy squad and makes them more vulnerable to incoming ranged attacks. Or you could just flank them with your commander or your scouts and quickly take them out while they're still shooting at the dudes behind cover. On a personal note, I always found it handy to have the tactical squad on deployment with me. Sergeant Tarkus can use a taunt ability quite early on. This will draw the attention of every enemy in quite a wide radius. I will be honest, I use this ability constantly because it's so effective. It gives the Devastator squad time to set up in cover without being shot at, gets the heat off the scout squad, and basically makes enemies more vulnerable to your melee troops because they're just not focusing on them anymore. You cannot rely on numbers or any one piece of equipment in Dawn of War 2. You need to be clever, careful, and prepared. One of the things I really like about this game is how you can no longer just reinforce a squad any way you want. You'll need to either be by a relay point, one of these things here, the drop pod that you spawn from at the beginning of the mission, or by one of these strategic points. Speaking of said strategic points, each one you capture offers a unique bonus to your force. These automated foundries here will let you deploy to multiple missions per day, allowing you to get more done when you have time-sensitive deployments waiting on you. Also, capturing an automated foundry will allow you to equip your squads with these deployable turrets. These relay stations provide you with extra mission intel and allow you to call in artillery strikes, and these Imperial shrines here increase the amount of experience points your squads earn and reduce enemy effectiveness. Oh, and also you get a shield ability. Though keep this in mind, you can only capture one of these points per mission, so choose wisely. The story progresses quite nicely as the scale of the threat we face grows. We start off fighting orcs. We then learn that the orcs are being manipulated by the Eldar, who are doing so to combat a horde of Tyranids that are on the prowl. Well, they're not really on the prowl, they haven't actually arrived at this point, but they will. Really, the game is a focus on the desperate struggle for the very survival of the Bloodravens chapter. After all, these are our recruiting worlds. If we lose them, the chapter is going to die. Battling nasty aliens and at one point the agonising process of bureaucracy. Though one of the bureaucrat characters I actually quite liked. Elena de Rosa might start as a buttoned-up bureaucrat.
This is not the hinterlands of Calderis or Typhon, Commander, so a certain amount of discretion would be appreciated.
But it transitions to a very grateful ally. This is mostly because we're actually here fighting for her planet, whilst her governor has kind of fucked off, and it was by his order that she was giving us the runaround.
Thank you for saving Meridian, Commander. I have issued a warrant for the former governor's arrest and confiscated all of House Vandis' holdings. We will conduct a thorough search for any additional Bloodraven relics. You should find my administration to be much more cooperative.
I didn't mention yet that you travel between 3 worlds in this campaign, so I will now. You travel between 3 worlds in this campaign. You go between a desert world, a jungle world, and a city world. Each map is well designed in both a mechanical and visual sense. You need to take into account the terrain around you when attacking, moving, and using abilities, and whilst you do, you get to admire the rather nice level of detail in all the models. Dawn of War 2, even today, looks quite nice. The graphics have suffered somewhat as time has gone by, as they often do, but as I always say, or at least I've been repeating a lot at the moment, the graphics only matter so long as they're doing their job, with them being nice on top of that just being a bonus, and I personally consider that bonus to be at play here. I also want to quickly shout out the voice acting, which is pretty decent, though it kind of makes it odd that our commander gets the old silent protagonist treatment when clearly they knew how to get decent voice actors, and how to write, if not complex, at least well characterized characters. The sound effects are well composed. Like in Dark Crusade, each force's weapons and skills are all audibly distinctive, and the background music is really bloody good. I would say it's even better than the music that appeared in Dawn of War 1, and that music was also really bloody good. If I had to criticise, and you know I do, I will say now that I do miss the whole base building and research aspects of the previous games. At least I missed them when I'm not playing Dawn of War 2. Whilst I'm playing Dawn of War 2, I'm having too much fun playing Dawn of War 2 for it to even be a factor. I also think the game forgot to mention an event happening because in an early mission a sergeant says,
Here's the convoy. The orcs slaughtered them.
Yet this convoy was not mentioned at all, at least I really can't remember if it was. Hold on, I'm going to go back and look through the footage properly to see if I'd missed it up to that point. Enjoy these pictures I drew while you wait. Yeah, no, I don't see it being mentioned beforehand. But the way they say, here is the convoy, as if the convoy has been mentioned, is kind of weird. I'm guessing they just forgot to include that bit, or maybe I've somehow missed it again. But I've played this game so many times, and I never remember the convoy being brought up before we see it in this mission. My final critique, though, is not really what I can blame the game for. It's about the online mode and how I can't seem to get into it. Either it's dead, or everyone else is too high a level for me to join them. See, I used to play this game with my stepfather's account, so all that time and spent levelling up characters was spent levelling up characters on an account that I don't even use anymore because I have my own Steam account these days. In fact, I've had my own Steam account for years. Shame really, but to be fair, the online is rather insubstantial. I'll give you a quick rundown of what you could do. You could do basic matches against people where you both have a base building and you build forces and attack each other. You could also do one of those take and hold style missions, which are fine. I mean, I did it against the AI, it was fine. And finally, we've got Last Stand. Basically, 3 human players versus hordes and hordes of AI. None of it was bad, but none of it was ever why I came to Dawn of War 2 in the first place. To conclude, Dawn of War 2 is a fantastic, well-made and fun to play strategy game that remembered how to sequel properly, by spreading its wings and daring to try something new, a gambit which I personally feel paid off well. A good bit of story well told, an engaging and addictive gameplay loop. If at any point I went on to play just one mission, I knew I was lying to myself, I knew I'd do at least 3. Spectacular presentation and a lot of attention to detail in the mechanics, and I cannot think of a single gag to end this week on, so I'm just going to stick some bloopers here something. See you next week. This allows you to choose how a squad specializes. Oh my goodness gracious me. This allows you to choose how a no, fuck. This allows you to choose how a squad I can't do this line. Automated foundries let you
It's more